Good evening and welcome back to Nice Drop of Port. Well, we wondered how Auckland FC would bounce back from that 4-0 home drubbing at the hands of Western United a few weeks ago. Well, they did bounce back emphatically with a 4-1 away win over the Central Coast Mariners. They followed that up with a 0-0 draw at home to one of the A-League's most fancied sides, Melbourne Victory. This week on Nice Drop of Port, we are dropping in on a man who wants to be Auckland FC's next signing. Before you ask, he's not a centre-back, but he's a football freestyler running a social media campaign to get the club to sign him up. So we're going to see if he does anything other than keepy uppies. Also on the show, we're going to go live to Perth to check in with a Glory fan whose results have hardly been worthy of the name this year so far, we'd say. We're going to ask him what it's like to support Perth Glory and live in the hottest place on earth. Because I've lived there, I know that. Before that, we have a very special guest tonight, as you'll see. I'm going to let Robbie introduce our next guest. Why don't you take it away, Rob?
Because I work pretty closely with Macca, I thought I'd, write a few little paragraphs. If you regularly listen to A-League Off Air, my fellow Robbie Thompson is quite regarded for his lengthy and overblown intros. So this isn't that, but bear with me. So what can I say about tonight's special guest? He's an A-League champion, an A-League Golden Boot, and the oldest ever goal scorer in Australia Cup history. Emphasis on old. In a career spanning 20 years, he played in England, Scotland, Romania, China, and of course, Australia. And he knows how to swear in each one of those languages. He was also once an aspiring kickboxer who trained alongside UFC legend Michael Bisping at a place in Burnley called the Black Knights Gym. So it's meant to be. Now in the midst of a burgeoning media dynasty as a commentator and podcast mogul, he was once known for his antics during interviews, such as planking or wearing Borat mankinis in the background, and even gave us one of the greatest not meant for air moments in Australian sporting TV history. If you say to any A-League fan, barking dog shit, they'll know exactly what you mean. So, he hates production meetings, loves being an absolute pest, and even more so loves when people bring up the 2011 grand final, say the word Eric Partaloo to him, and you just wait to see his reaction. Genuinely, I think he is one of the best footballing brains in the business and an absolute legend of the bloke. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daniel McBreen.
Wow, that turned really nice at the end there. I don't know what to say. I'm used to copying shit off you, but a little bit of niceness thrown in the end. Who is this bloke?
Thanks,
Robbie.
Worse.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. That was very, very nice. And
pleasure. No. Yes. Oh, mate, absolutely stoked you could jump on. I've given you a couple of shout-outs already, so happy you made it on air with us.
My pleasure. When I saw that you jumped from Wellington Phoenix to Auckland, I thought there must be something good going on. So it's great to see that there is good things going on with Auckland.
We do rib Robbie and a few others about the old jumping ship from Wellington to Auckland. Like it is a thing here. There's a lot of it going on, and when I go to the games, I hear a lot of chants about disliking Wellington. Just in the back of my mind, I know a lot of the fans used to be Wellington fans.
Yeah, exactly right. And I could tell you, he would defend them to the hilt in meetings last year. And then this year, all of a sudden, he's just done a big backflip going, oh, no, that's not my team. Disgraceful behaviour.
What is the general? Sorry, Robbie. I'm just going to jump in. What is the general feeling, Macca? About Auckland FC over there, because we've kind of come from nowhere. We know the story. A bunch of players thrown together, playing in this league. Lots of them hadn't played in the league before. Is there genuine surprise at how well this team's come out of the blocks?
I don't want to say surprise, but maybe to a degree. I think the way that the club and the owner have gone about business right from the very start, everything seemed to be done properly. Like you could see the foundations being placed. When Bill Foley was saying, I've got other clubs in different sporting arenas, and when we come in, we want to win straight away. It's not trying to come in. And everything that he's said and done since then has backed that up. The crowds have turned up. The marketing's been good. The stuff we hear about behind the scenes, the recruitment has been great. They got a good coach. So, as much as Aussies like to give it to the New Zealanders and give you a stick, what's not to like, to be honest, at the moment from Auckland? I guess the one thing that some people might say is, you've got a billionaire owner, blah, blah, blah. Fine. I have no problem with that. If he's doing the right things for the club, the area, and the sport, I don't care if it's a billionaire owner and people think he's going out and buying the league. He hasn't actually gone, from what I can see, and gone and got these multi-million-dollar players. They've put a good balanced squad together. And I think there's nothing at the moment that I can look at and say, oh, that's not right. It's been fantastic. It's been a breath of fresh air, in my opinion.
That's right. This argument of the billionaire doesn't really wash, because we haven't had any marquee signings. It's very much local first, and a lot of Kiwi boys in the team as well, which we all love over it. It's great.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I think has endeared the club to everyone, really, is that not only you could have easily gone out and said, we're going to get this marquee and this famous player and blah, 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 but you've brought local players from the local league. You've brought Kiwis back from overseas who maybe weren't quite running, getting the run of the green over there. But you've tried, and also the colours, everything that's done around it has been a thought through process we want the locals on board and we want to represent this region. And I think it's been done fantastically.
Absolutely.
He's ever so positive about it, but you should have heard his chat after we got flogged by Western. My God. Didn't stop.
What were you saying, Macca?
Well, I was probably saying that we don't want to win the league. But yeah. Look, probably the only thing I would say that I look at the club now and say is, and it's not a big negative, is that I think you're missing a 20-goal-a-year striker. Apart from that, everything else, I've got nothing but positives to say. It's been, as I said, a breath of fresh air. The marketing, the crowds have been fantastic. They've really got it on board, and I struggle to think of anything negative I can say. I thought 100 tons of sand was going to be a lot more than it was.
Large sand pit in the end.
I had a lot of visions of that whole hill just being like a big sand dune, but it doesn't go a long way, sand, does it?
No. Well, you thought, Matt, you were going to be on the beach all day, didn't you, that game?
Yeah, I worried that was going to be, just of all the things that could be thrown into that about turning up for my first game and getting pumped 4-0, the idea of being on the beach. I can't stand the beach. Can't stand sand. Maybe being a golfer, there's something in there, subliminally behind the, just avoid the sand, get away from the sand. You shouldn't be in it. You don't have any business being there. So you're right.
That wasn't you with the bucket and the spade that I saw in there behind the goal. That wasn't you.
Well, I tell you what, when people were recognising me, I think I could have probably done with. I'm surprised I didn't get turned upside down and my head shoved in the sand and told me, not bother coming back out again until we've got our act together. So.
Yeah, see, Macca, the long-running joke is Matt is he never goes to the Auckland games, and then the one he did go to was the one we got smashed. So
we all know
there's a target on him now.
Yeah, there's always someone that's that person.
I'm not sure I can show my face there anytime soon. Anyway, yeah,
he's a bit of a Jonah, and we did kind of wonder whether the bubble had burst. With that Western United hammering, they look pretty benign. And the last time we got together, we talked about these two games we've just had, the Central Coast Mariners away, and I think they bounced back superbly in that game. I mean, what's the thoughts across the board with that one? If you remember before Christmas.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. Same. I thought when it was that really because it was Western United too, and Western United are hard. They're a hard team to beat, but they're not a team that you expect to go out and beat teams 4-0. And that display, that's particularly that first half display or first half hour, you were like, uh-oh. And I was with you. I was like, here we go. The wheels are starting to wobble. Let's see what happens, in the following weeks, because this could be the time when they do start to drop off. But it was a blip by the sounds of it and by the looks of it. Let's be honest. Bimby's got them pretty well organised. He's got some really good talent in there, and they're a very, very hard team to beat. I've spoke with Robbie plenty of times about my concern, and I just mentioned there, is that who is going to be that striker that steps up and scores all those goals that can take you all the way. But to concede, to beat Auckland, I think it's going to be very hard for everyone every week, week in, week out.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, the big goal scorer is needed, and we've talked about this before. Because May, he's got 3, I think, in 10.
Yeah.
which isn't bad, but he doesn't look prolific. He looks like he'll get a few, but not prolific.
Yeah, he looks more like, to me, the guy that if you had a prolific striker next to him, he would follow him with 10 goals for the season, but and another 8 to 10 assists where he does all the dropping in and getting the ball and playing it in, and that other guy stays up top and says, "Feed me."
Where do you find a 20-goal a season striker just sitting around, not being wanted by his club?
Yeah. Surely there's a guy somewhere out there, another Barisha or something that we can find.
Yeah,
you can get him for next to Nicks because they haven't done too much and they can spring into action when they get to Australia. It's the age-old question, isn't it? And that's why they get paid the big bucks, because it's hard to do.
Well, because this was something I raised last week, Macca. When you had that conversation with me, I randomly. It just popped into my head, given Bruno's situation with the victory. Maybe it's changed slightly since PK's gone. But someone like that on the outer at the club, is he worth looking at, considering? Because he's that kind of striker that we're looking for. Yeah.
Well, I think, the kind of striker that when all that was happening there was probably about 4 or 5 clubs saying, "We'll take you." I do know for a fact that there was a couple of clubs who were in long talks with him, and it sort of fell apart. But why wouldn't you want someone like him? You've got those players that you've got, all those creative attacking players, and if you can find that player, Bruno would fit that mold, I think, incredibly well. His work rate as well. A lot of people talk about his age. That doesn't matter to me. His work rate is phenomenal. In the box, he's deadly. If he's playing week in, week out, which I think a good striker needs to, he would bag you 15 goals. I have no doubt in that team that you've got there at the moment. Yeah, I think he would be a great addition.
Just for those of us that don't know, what does it take for a club to get another player in this January window in the A-League? Because there are no transfer fees. So what does it take to get him to move? Does he get to talk, if his club wants him out, is it really just talking to the clubs that want him and banging out a financial deal, or is there compensation at this stage of the season? How does it work?
No, well, there's no transfer system in Australia at the moment, particularly between clubs. So this is one of the bugbears that a lot of true football fans have, is that it has to be a mutual termination. So they'll talk. So say, for example, it was Bruno and he was saying, "Oh, okay, I want to go to Auckland," and Melbourne were like, "Well, you can go." Well, then he would first talk to Melbourne, make sure that the deal's right and everything's in his favour. And then when that deal's done, he would go to Victory and say, "All right, I'm happy to go here. I've found a club that wants me." And then they just mutually terminate and say, "Right, we're done and dusted," and he'll go. Whereas, if it was anywhere else in the world, 6 months left on his contract, Melbourne might turn around. They could just say you can go, but they could also turn around and say, "Oh, we want 200 grand." But that's not going to happen between Australian clubs.
Given that we haven't heard much about Bruno going to Auckland FC, potentially it's not a happening thing. It's just a Robbie idea.
It just popped in my head. There's no credence behind it whatsoever.
Love it. Yeah,
but it's a good player that would fit. But I think Bruno looks like he might be happy again.
Yeah, great. All right, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, Macca. One of them is the attendances, right? Auckland FC, is it true that we're kind of holding the league up at the moment? We've got average attendance. I think we're up at 17,000 or something. I mean, obviously we've had I used to dabble in a little bit of a cryptocurrencies, back in the day, and I feel like Auckland FC had that kind of surge where everyone just thinks it's amazing at the moment. And I guess the question is, you and Robbie have been around in this A-League for a while. Can we maintain that 17,000 people coming to games? Given that is elsewhere.
That is the hard one, because obviously there's always a buzz around a new franchise, and when it's done well, a new entity, it breeds this excitement, and people want to be on board, and this is representing us. It's great that the club has started so well and sitting where it is, because if they'd started off with a loss and a couple of losses, it might have been, well, here we go. Is it the Kings now? Is it, is it just going to be another one of them? But it's not. I think, let's be honest, results make a big difference. When the club does well, fans feel the buzz and they want to be a part of it. That's the other thing too. I think about Australian fan bases, and you can correct me or not if it's the same with New Zealand. Is I think we're extremely fair weather fans across a lot of sports. When our team's doing well, we've got 20,000 there. 15, 20,000. When our team's not doing so well, it's between 6 to 8 to 10. And that's really let's have a look at the Mariners, for example. Back end of last year. They won the championship the year before. They won the AFC Cup. They won the premiership, and then they won the championship. And they were getting sellout crowds of 24,000 week after week at the end. I think 3 or 4 times. Wow. Fast forward to the start of this season, and they're getting 4,500.
Jeez.
Number one, there's a big break in the season between seasons, which sort of people forget a little bit. And then when the season does kick off, it's like, oh, yeah, that's right, yeah, but it's summer and I want to go to the beach and, oh, what will I do that? We'll when they do well, we'll jump back on and go. Very fair weather fans in Australia, and it is very hard to keep them engaged. But the number one thing you can do is keep winning. You keep winning, people will want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And saying that as well, like I've always thought, particularly with New Zealand going to games there growing up, the game day experience was terrible. And I know Ellie Williams leading into before the club, started this whole thing. It was, we want to change the experience for fans so that win, lose or draw, whatever happens on the field, at least you have fun going to the game. So whether that's your halftime entertainments, whatever's, happening in and around the pitch, like the slide, for example, as much as that kind of gets mocked, it is pretty cool. You can take a family there. The kids can go down. They can do that for 90 minutes.
I'd go down that.
100%. Like Terry McFlynn, when he came on the show a couple of weeks ago, he was saying Nick Becker was the first one down there because he wanted to try it out, make sure it was safe. But 2, it's like it's a giant slide. Why would you not?
He wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
But I think that's super important. And, we see it in Australia with the likes of the Big Bash. It's just really entertaining to go to, regardless if your team's winning or not. At least you can go out for a night for a couple of hours, have a few drinks, not spend too much ideally, but it's an occasion to go to. And I think that's something that the league needs working on or needs to work on, and especially in New Zealand as well.
Yeah, look, I think when you get, it's the port behind the goals, isn't it, that's going nuts, and they're all get together and you see they turn up in their the shirts all together and the atmosphere's great and they've got songs going and that breeds it. And I think the size of the stadium, so they had that sellout crowd or near sellout crowd, whatever it was, and then so the top part was open, and then I've noticed that the top part has been shut, so they're all compact down together. So I think that's smart as well. If you're going to be in a stadium that is big, okay, and it's not too big, but force them all into an area so it feels like it's this vibrancy about it. I've taken my son to a few games. He's 14 now, but when he was 8, I took him to a few games with his mates, and we were all in this big. We're at I was at Newcastle, and it was like it holds 30,000 or 35,000. There was about 8,000 there, but everyone was spread out all around the stadium, and it's open at both ends. And when we left, I said, "Oh, how good was that?" And my son was like, "It was all right." But I know if they pushed those 8,000 in together with the crowd singing and cheering, he would have been, oh, how good was the atmosphere? Because we did go to another game where the crowd was all pushed in and squashed in, and he was like, that was unreal. I was down at the Mariners, and I just told him that's because the Mariners are unreal. But that, mate, these little things can make a big difference. To have people have that feel, that emotion that everyone buzzes off each other about.
Oh, 100%. Like even my solitary experience of going to a game when I went back to Auckland for the derby, I was sat in the east stand near the port, close to the port end, but not with the port. But knowing a few of the chants, there were a bunch of us kind of copying what the port were doing, and that was filtering down the row with my friends and their kids who were there, who I invited along. They were hearing me chant, hearing the other Port fans chant in the east stand, and they were picking up and carrying it on, and it was just kind of slowly making its way around the stadium. And that's what you want. I love that. I love having that in New Zealand.
Were they chanting and pointing at you, going, "Who's the dickhead in the yellow"? Were you wearing which shirt did you have on that?
You have the yellow shirt on. Robbie's very popular back here in New Zealand, have you know.
Yeah, actually, Mac, I didn't tell you this. I had my first fan experience. Someone came up to me in Lily World and said, "Aren't you from the podcast?"
Well,
Really?
there you
It was
go.
great.
Look,
It's a captive audience down at Mount Smart.
Hey,
Yeah.
fantastic. Even I don't get that, Robbie, in Australia.
It's taken off more than I think any of us actually thought it would. Like I guess we all hoped for a great start and great enthusiasm from Aucklanders. And it's kind of Mackie, you said like a lot of Aussie fans are known for being quite fickle, but Auckland fans have been fickle to sport down the years. Like there's no doubting that. And so I guess it's kind of not like the elephant in the room. We all talked about it at the start. Everyone's talked about it, so it's kind of like we're aware that it could happen, I guess. And I think that the club is aware it could happen, and you know there's a lot of work being done, you know, to carry it on right through the season. And I guess that's going to be very much pinned to how the team does. So let's talk a little bit about the team. Like we are 10 games in, incredible start, looking good. Like, what do you reckon, Macca? Is this the look of a team that's going to just keep going and do really well at the end of the season?
Yeah, look, I look at that squad, and like I said, I think it's a really good squad. There's good right across the board. There's good talent. I think Dan Hall is a massive loss with his injury. I'm not sure how long he's out for, but I think it was no coincidence that it was a couple of weeks ago where they were just looking fantastic at the back, and he'd stepped in, and it actually was him that gave the ball away. But because he wasn't in the back line, they conceded a goal, and I was like, I think it might have been Costa Barbarouses actually, and I said. It's no surprise for me because he was out of the back line. They conceded that goal because he was just reading everything, and he's quick. He reads the play well. He covers his teammates very well. But as I said, the one thing I think that could stop being premiers or champions more like champions, because it will come down to, is that missing jigsaw piece, and I think it's a top striker. But when you look at young players like Gillian, their combination down the left hand side, if he can fine tune his final product, he's going to be electric. I think he's full of energy. That attitude he has, where he just wants to run at players all the time. If he can fine tune that final ball, that final decision of the final pass or shot, he's going to. That could be a big difference as well, because this is his first year at this level. The step up, it's like he's sort of taken a duck to water, but that's where you start to see over time. Is he going to make that
fine
step?
Margin? Yeah,
Correct.
It's a fine margin. And Matt and I, when we were at the game, we were right down that side. He had a bunch of runs down that flank. The game we lost, but he's been good every game in that sense. But it is that final ball, final head up, final whatever it is. Getting in the right place for a shot, and he's so close, and we're like all willing him to kind of catch on fire, you know.
Well, I think we all want him to.
We know he's got it.
Yeah, because he's so energetic and so positive in his play. I think we all want him to go to that next level, because you know, we don't want to see guys go into, well, I'm not quite getting there, so I'll start to play negative. He's got. It's like Bimby's just said, go and play your game, keep playing. And you know, I did a look at the Sydney game, and he had a couple of opportunities, probably I would say 3 opportunities, that if he played the ball earlier into the box, there was a really good chance for them to get a goal. But he just had that extra touch, and I was like, in time, if he keeps improving and they work on that, he's going to be a real find.
Well, me and Dale, we noticed that the moments where his head was down for quite a period of time. I think that goes back to because it's difficult. It's one of the most difficult things to keep on trying to take a man on. You take a man on, you know, he defends you. To keep coming back is almost one of the most difficult things to do in football. But we noticed that there was moments where if he just looked up, there was a very simple pass that he could just pass to the back, to the left, or you know, go again, pass, move. But you know, that's what my notes say. He's kind of almost learning on the job. He's taken a step up. And he's figuring it out as he goes. Yeah. And that's the difference too between when you're breaking from halfway and you break through. Then he does have the time to get his head up as he's catching up to the ball. You know, if he turns and knocks it through, or a through ball, that's where he should be looking. But you know, if he's right up in around the edge of the box area, I'd just be saying to him,
when you take them on, once you get that half yard, just whip it into a certain area.
Just do it.
If you just whip it in between the 6 yard and the penalty spot, and then I'll talk to the strikers and the 10s. They should be hitting those marks, because then they have a cue as well. They know that as soon as you get that half a yard, or as soon as you're taking him on, we're already starting to move because we know you're going to whip it. If you don't do it, then that's when the 9s and the 10s and the far wingers start going, well, is he going to go? Is he not going to go?
What's he doing?
And then you become disjointed.
Well, that's what's so good about De Vries. De Vries is he's so predictable, but he's so predictably good. You know exactly. He tells you exactly when he's going to cross and when he's going to pass back, or he's going to go forward. And for me, that's why I think, finding that 20-goal striker. But the way Auckland set up, really, they're just solid at the back. They try and win the midfield battle. And they've got May and, Mata on the bench. They're both big guys. They both suit that. De Vries, whenever Auckland look like they're going to be the most lethal, if they're going to score, most likely, it's coming from the left. It's De Vries whipping the ball in, and it's Mata or May putting themselves in. And then you might get Brimmer or a Moreno or someone kind of mopping up that tap in, or the ball comes out. That seems to be where they're most. Yeah, that's when they look their best. But
it's kind of like we're saying, even though the opposition know we're doing it, if we're good enough and we execute it enough times, it's going to pay dividends essentially.
De Vries is fantastic. I'll be surprised to see how long he stays. Actually, I think he's of a certain level. I know he's come from. Is it the Dutch league or the German league? I think, and where they've got
Sweden. I think he played last properly.
But he had a bad injury and he's coming back. But he has some serious quality. He knows when to go forward, when to go back. I mean, my football team, we're quite good on the left, and that's what we've got a player that just knows when to go forward, when to go back, when to come inside. He does it. He gets it every single time. It's very good.
It's like Joe Lolly at Sydney. You know that he's going to cut in from the right, go onto his left boot, and put it in the top corner, and you can't stop it. You can't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, De Vries is so predictable. But
De Vries is going to put an absolute on the dime across in the perfect area.
Yeah, it's old school actually. I put back. It's kind of. I mean, I don't say he's
got it back,
but it was a David Beckham. He's literally he puts the ball in like Beckham used to. He dips it in, he whips it, and he dips it, and it's so hard to defend. He's exceptionally good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the attackers want. They want to know it's going to be put in that area every time. I'll drag my defender away and I'll be there.
Exactly.
Simple game, isn't it? So simple.
I know. Exactly. That's it. They're listening. I think Steve does listen from time to time.
Steve and Bill as well.
Here's a question, Mac. You're the only one of us to have actually played football at a decent level. So,
well, hang on. Robbie keeps telling me about his Division 6 matches that he's been playing in.
No, I was rookie of the year, Division 5 a couple of years ago. But anyway, move on.
That's not to be sniffed at.
My question is, Macca, what's the change in the standard between when you were in the game, what we're talking 10, 15 years ago, to now in the A-League? Has it gone up or down? Because I mean, we remember were you around a time when Fowler and Heskey were over?
Yeah, I played with Robbie. I was sort of the era of Shinji Ono, Emile Heskey. There was some Italian bloke as well who played at Sydney. I think
what's his name again?
Del
Boy.
Yeah, that's it. Del Boy, that's it. Derek, something. Yeah.
Derek,
he's, I think he finished third in Golden Boot or something. I don't know. But anyway, look, I find maybe. Look, I find that a really difficult question about going for different eras. You asking if I sat down with 50 players of my generation who were playing in their prime in from 2008 to 2013, they'll say, "Gee, that was the best era ever, wasn't it?" You talk to the next one before us and they'll say, "Oh, but the 90s and the noughties, how good were we then?" I find that really hard to adjust because football changes and it goes in cycles and the style of play is different. Like, go back 15 years and you were telling someone, the goalkeeper, to pass the ball to the centre back, mate, they'd snap the goalkeeper's leg off and say, "You're off, get off. Do not pass to the centre backs. You pass to the fullbacks, you pass to the midfield, or you launch it up the park to the big man up top."
Relentlessly are now passing it back.
And us old guys will sit there and say, "Oh, they do it too much, and it's overkill." And I watch highlights now. When you put the 4-minute or 3-minute highlight package on, and when someone's playing out from the back, the first thing you go is, "Uh-oh, this is a mistake."
This is
whereas
yeah.
it never would have happened before. When they were at the back and the highlights started, you knew they were going to be clipping the ball forward down the line or something. So football has changed so much that I find trying to say is it better or not is I don't think you can do that because it changes so much. And I'm always going to say my era was better.
All right. Here's an easier one. Who was a better player, you or Terry McFlynn?
Me.
Yeah.
Next question.
Because you're the only two pros I've had on the podcast so far. So
yeah. We should have a table. We should rate our guests. Yeah.
Who's at the bottom though? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, don't show me if I'm on the bottom. I don't want to know.
All right. So, Maka, what is it? I mean, you did win, the A-League. I mean, what does it take to win the A-League? Is there any magic formula, or is it just you get on a run and you get the mental space going and you smash it?
It's not lucky. It's a lot of hard work. It's having a coaching staff that one can pick a player that is going to fit their let's just say culture, their style, the way they play, but not just on the field but off the field. It's them getting their messages across to a way that the players understand and buy into. It's the players having a bond with that culture that, most of the times I've been at a club where you feel, things are happening. It's because off the park, the players are really good friends as well, whether that's family outings in the day or it's nights out after a game, have going out and getting drunk together or whatever that was. That off-field bond has always been at clubs where you think something's happening here. When all those things come together, and you've got to ride, you can say luck, here and there in games and stuff, but over the course of a season, they do generally pan out. But it's all those things have to come together. And one player that doesn't fit that can derail that whole process. You've got to be really careful with your squad, how it's put together, how the personalities come together. You need to have a right balance of who are the leaders, who are the ones who are going to follow and need the leaders to take them, because if you end up having too many leaders and not enough followers, vice versa, that can derail it. So it's a huge tapestry, a huge puzzle to get right. And that's why, very rarely do you see dynasties in this day and age, especially in the A-League, because, one, we've got the salary cap, which makes it harder for teams to go, well, we're just going to spend all the money. It's such a hard process to get right.
Interesting. The team bonding aspect of it. I think we forget now, because most of us are old guys. These are kind of Gen Zs, and they've had quite a different social experience over the last kind of half a decade, right? So it's kind of like, I doubt they go out on the piss anymore, like Roy Keane-esque, do they? Like,
nah,
I just jump online and play Call of Duty with each other.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they do message each other when they're sitting next to each other. But look,
different world.
Yeah, it is, and it's changed. And look, most of the guys I would say coming through drink a lot less than my generation did. I was probably on the back end of the real proper drinking culture. I would say I bridged from the real drinking culture to when it started to become, all right, let's temper it down a bit and leave it to 3 or 4 nights a week. I'm joking. That was
Are we getting back to Robbie Fowler? Are we?
No, Robbie liked 1 or 2 drinks on the Saturday night, but he wasn't a very big drinker at all. No, but he was very big on everyone getting together. He was a legend in the fact that, I remember at North Queensland Fury, we had a couple of team bonding things where we had a Sunday and we'd say, right, Sunday, this is the day. And then Gaffer had said, right, Monday will just be an easy day. We want you to go out. And we'd be at a bar, it'd be 25 of us there and having drinks and everything. And then we'd be like, right, let's go to the next bar. Right, everyone divvy up your money. So we'd put the money in and we'd all go, and I'd go to pay. And the lady's like, oh no, it's already been sorted out. And he didn't want he'd just gone up and paid on the quiet. It wasn't like, hey, boys, I've got this one for you. He's just like, I'll just get this one. And he didn't want everyone to know that. He was just like, no, just use that money at the next bar. Like, just, he wouldn't accept it. But, yeah, look, that team bonding, it's a little different these days, but it's still there. Some players still enjoy going out and relaxing. And I think that's really important because you work 6 days from Monday to Saturday. Let's just say it's a standard week. Your sole purpose is for that Saturday game, and you work all week on that. You do your video, you do your training sessions, you're eating properly, you're doing all your diet, and then on the Saturday, whether it's a beer or not, whether it's just going out for dinner or it's just whatever, everyone's different. You need that release where it's not thinking about the game for one night. You need just that release, whether you've won, whether you've lost. It's the old saying from the old school: win or lose on the booze, because it's like you've worked hard for 6 days. Now it's different. It's not win or lose on the booze, but it might be. It might not be. But it's just whatever it is, it's taking your mind away for 24 hours or 18 hours to go, oh, I just need to think about something else. That's really important for me for the mental side of the game for players as well.
Yeah, and this particular team's got a different trip now. We're going to Perth, of course, this weekend.
Yeah, enjoy that, boys.
I mean, that's a long way from anywhere.
That is a long way. Jeez.
So, what times kick off in Perth?
6:45 local, I think it is.
Yeah.
So is that midnight?
Yeah,
11:45.
11:45.
Yeah.
So they'll actually be in Perth before the Glory themselves.
Oh, they're going early?
I believe so. Well, because Perth played last night, so travel today.
Yeah,
they may already be there.
Yeah, right. Okay. See, because we used to try we tried every single, I think, different way that you could. We tried.
With Perth.
Yeah, because of the Well, I played there for a few. I didn't mind going back, catch up with some friends. But like it's a 3-hour difference between Perth and Sydney, and so we would try all these different methods. But this is another 2 hours difference, so it's a 5-hour difference turnaround. So we tried we'd go 2 days before and try and get on Perth time. We tried the day before, same sort of thing. We tried going on the day and staying on like New South Wales time. So we'd just get there and we'd have breakfast at whatever time it was. If it was 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock, and just tried to manage staying on the same time and have a sleep. I can't tell you which is the best way to do it. With it's a 5-hour difference, I would be going early to try and get some. Because the fact that you're kicking off at midnight, if you went the day before, no matter what you do, kicking off at midnight or whatever it is, you're going to be knackered, aren't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'd be getting there 5 days before. I'll reach the time zone, I reckon.
Well, having a billionaire owner, you probably can afford to stay in 5 days of hotel.
That's pretty cheap. Is it boom time or bus time over there at the moment? Depending on how cheap it is.
Boom time on everything at the moment for cost of stuff. So you need a billionaire to stay more than 2 nights. But yeah, look, that is a real difficult one, and that's not something that really you get anywhere else in the world. Let's be honest, we're one of the only countries in the world that has this problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, just before we say goodbye to you, Mac, I mean, the final question really is around that. Chiefy, the Wellington manager, reckons that Auckland are going to totally capitulate as soon as we start having these away trips, lots and lots of away trips. Like, do you think that will come into it with Auckland? I mean, and Perth's a great example, I guess. They are going to get more testy, these games, right?
Yeah. Oh, look, I think so. Yeah. The travel is hard. The layovers when there's delays, things that you don't encounter, like you don't account for. You think, oh yeah, we're going to go here, and then you find out you get to the airport and they're like, oh, there's a delay because there's strong winds or whatever. So you end up sitting in a hotel in the airport for another 3 hours. You don't factor those things in. You're not expecting those. They do have a bit of an effect, a knock-on effect, particularly through this period now where there's plenty of games that can. Yeah, that will be an effect. This one will be interesting. The Perth trip coming up, I find that. Let's have a look and see how they feel there, because the Perth trip's hard enough for everyone else, let alone coming from almost the other side of the world.
Yeah, but I think going in their favour is the fact that the Glory are on a short turnaround. They're probably without Adam Taggart. I'm not 100% sure on the status of his injury. I think it's a quad he came off with last night against Sydney. Yeah. That's a huge out for them, and they're in all sorts of trouble anyway. So probably not a bad time to be getting on this Perth away trip.
Well, I think it's every week's a good week to get a Perth trip in, isn't it, at the moment? They're not setting the world on fire, but
we'll take them.
But the other thing is, and you mentioned it right off the top, Dale, about the weather. Perth can be
it's different. Bloody, it's different, eh? Yeah, it's 40s, up in the 40s.
Yeah, and it's. I remember once Mariners. We were playing in Asia. And we went to China. And we played in 0 degrees in China on must have been the Wednesday night, and we flew straight back to Perth. And then on the Saturday it was 40 degrees. And I'll let you guess the score in that game. It was 0-0 because even the Perth boys were saying, "This is too hot. This is too hot." You think it's hot? But the travel and that heat difference can the weather will start. I think will play an effect as the season goes on. And because you guys had a lot of games front ended to your season at home, haven't you? So at the back end, you might have a few more away games. Does it work out that way?
I suspect we will. Yeah,
something like that,
that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to get harder for us, the schedule. Yeah. Cool. All right, Macca, thank you very much for your time, and give your own poddy a little plug. A-League off there, of course, is a great podcast, and all the latest gossip and news and bits and pieces.
Thanks for having me. Well, if you're over 18, you can jump in because we swear a little bit too much. Robbie really gets all his frustrations out on air. He gets it out on air off air, and the swearing can get a little loose, quite loose at times. So we're just a pod too that just talks about the actual games. There's so many people that want to talk about the politics and all the off-field stuff. We just talk about football. That's what we want to talk about, and we do it in a sweary manner. So
lovely. We'll make sure
it's a miracle that none of that's actually transferred over to his on-air commentary stuff. It's unbelievable how that hasn't happened yet.
Slips into a different persona.
Yeah, just takes one hat off and puts another on.
Jekyll and Hyde.
And if any people can swear a lot, it's the Australians.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really holding back right now, I can tell you. But thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll bid you farewell. Thank you very much,
cheers,
Daniel.
Macca.
Good on you, mate. Good on you.
Cheers, mate.
All right, lovely to hear from Daniel McBreen.
Legend of a bloke, honestly.
Legend of a bloke. I forgot to ask who scored more goals when he played with Fowler in the season, but Robbie would have scored a lot of goals, wouldn't he, down the A-League?
A few. I'll look it up.
He was at the end. He was at the end, though, wasn't he? He was at the end.
He was at the end.
He was. All right. Next topic. Auckland FC, obviously, we've been talking about potential new signings. Robbie talking about Bruno there. There is an actual new signing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the stories that I've picked up on over the last few weeks is a Brazilian lad who's he's making a pitch to be Auckland FC's next signing through a bit of a social media campaign. I'll bring him in here. Here he goes. G'day, Matt.
Hi,
how you
guys.
going?
Oh, good. How are you guys? Thank you for having me tonight.
That's all right, buddy. That's all right. Welcome to the show. I won't give away the game straight away, but why don't you explain to us, Matt, what you want to do and how you're doing it at the moment?
I'm a professional football freestyler. I've been doing that for the past 15 years. I've done shows in Brazil, all over Brazil, Europe, and I haven't had the opportunity to do in New Zealand just yet. So I started the challenge. So essentially, every day I post some freestyle videos on my TikTok, tagging Auckland FC and hoping that I can get a chance to play with them. Or at least, if I can't play with them, at least do a halftime show or like a pre-match entertainment or something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But the gag is Auckland FC, come and sign me.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a daily challenge. Every day I'm pushing myself, and in hopes that they notice me and give me an opportunity.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think they should definitely look at the start of the game or the halftime thing.
Definitely.
I can't think of anything. Yeah, that fits the bill.
Yeah,
almost
that would
perfectly.
be amazing. Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
I've done heaps of shows in Brazil before, and
Yeah.
the crowd goes nuts. Like all the kids absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that Auckland FC should really look into it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
You'd give Sex Guy a real run for his money.
Yeah,
Sex
all
Man,
we can
he
do-
was brilliant.
We can do
He was
together.
brilliant.
Yeah, we can
together.
do something
Do it
together.
together,
That would be
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Saxon freestyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your
I think I've seen that
campaign.
movie.
What's your campaign?
Yeah.
What are you going to do though? What are you going to do? You're doing your social videos every day, but have you been down to the club yet to kind of like maybe sit outside the training ground and do some keepy uppies?
Yes, I've seen. I watched him training a couple of times, and one day I actually got the chance to meet the coach, Steve Corica, and surprisingly, his son actually watched my videos before. Like I asked for a photo with him, and then he came to me. He's like, "Oh, are you the TikTok guy?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, how good!
I was so surprised that he saw my videos. So I think it's just a matter of time that I get in touch with the right people and make it happen.
Matter of time. Well, you're on day 9, and before the show, you were telling me that there's someone trying to do this for Barcelona, and they're on day 600, and they haven't signed.
That's right. They actually day 800 something, and then Barcelona replied to him once, but that was about it. Auckland FC replied to my very first video, so I think I'm on the right tracks, and hopefully we can make that happen before 800 days.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
You need a stunt. You need to go and do something else. I think like I love the keepy up videos, but you gotta pull up outside the ground or something. I reckon. Bring a ball. Just bring a ball next week.
I would love to go and challenge them, like those crossbar challenges, or do some penalty kicks on post and see how many I can score. Just compare like a normal person sort of to a professional footballer, and see if there's much of a difference. See if I can fit in, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you play centre back at all? We're looking for a new centre back.
We are.
I played left back. I played left back in Brazil, so that would be very hard for me to take De Vries' position. I would be happy to be in the bench for now and fight on my position, maybe.
Bide your time. Get ready.
Yeah.
That's right. Just wait for that opening. Yeah.
It
can't be good forever. It can't play well forever. No one.
Definitely. One day he's going to get like 3 yellow cards or whatever, and I'll
exactly.
get
he'll have a shocker. Yeah. Eventually.
I think you've got a chance being Brazilian.
Yeah, definitely. Football is my blood. I've been playing football my whole life, like since I was 5 years old, and then from playing football, then I started doing freestyle on top of that.
You just need to come up with a name, like, because Ronaldo and Romario and Eusebio, that's not their real names, is it? But they kind of like.
I think they are the real names.
They are the real names. Yeah.
Are they real names? But I thought they're kind of like.
Names.
No, they have very long names, and don't they often pick like in our football we have literally it's like our surname. That is our last name. That's what goes on the shirt. But aren't they? Yeah. Don't they have very like Ronaldo, like we remember that played for Brazil? He's got quite a long name, hasn't he? Ronaldo isn't his. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get Ronaldo, the Ronaldinho that made his name even longer.
Yeah, this is it.
It's like a trend in Brazil. We hardly use our surnames on our t-shirts and that.
They use like mine would be rubbish though. I'd have to use Roy as my middle name.
Were you both called Matt? I mean, like maybe Matt. Maybe we need more than Matt.
I could put my surname on my kit, but it's even harder for everyone else to pronounce.
I just feel like it needs a bit more of a flair,
Mattelio.
Mattelio, it's like your
sounds a bit Italian, but I'll take it.
But
I think it would fit nice on my kit.
But straight away, your value is doubled just by doing that.
Yeah,
by doing that.
I can just put Matt House, which is my actual name.
Yeah,
that's not a bad one. As Woodward English said on the YouTube chat, Matinho or Matinho Jr.
Matinho Jr. That's a good one.
Matinho Jr.
Matinho Jr. I'll take that.
Mysterious.
That's a solid name. Yeah, I'll change my TikTok tag right now.
There you go.
Get on with
it. You probably
do
it.
You're actually,
Awesome.
I think you're our first South American on the show as well, and I've been very keen to speak to people from the South American community, just because, as we know, you're like the English, right? The football was in the blood. What's the Brazilian? I mean, do you hang out with many other Brazilians? Is there many Brazilians going to the game?
I've seen quite a few. I just go with a couple of mates from my work that are also Brazilian, but I don't usually hang out with them that much. I've been here for about 10 years, so I sort of cut ties with Brazil in a way. So yeah, besides my workmates, there's no one else really that I hang out with.
But football's still in the blood.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we really enjoy going to the games. Like, we really miss that. That's the thing I miss the most moving from Brazil to here. Like, I really miss like going every weekend to a football stadium, and with Auckland doing so well, like it's something I really look forward to every weekend. To go to the stadium and have fun and watch the boys.
How have you found the experience? Because it would be quite different to going to a Brazilian game.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very, how do I say, very peaceful. Like Brazil is very chaotic. Our stadiums are massive. The other day my team signed a player in Brazil, and we got 45,000 people in the stadium just to see this player.
To see him,
with his kit on for the first time in that.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying my experience here. The port has been fantastic, singing non-stop every single game. Yeah, we're having so much fun.
Do you go into the port? Are you standing in there?
I'm on Bay 21, either 21 or 23. I'm still learning all the songs and that.
They're getting a bit of
right next to them.
For those not at the game, Bay 21 and 23 are getting a bit of stick at the moment for sitting down and not having any songs, which I kind of find a bit harsh because people have literally just gone to the game and sat somewhere.
We're still learning. I'm sitting up there the whole time, but I'm still learning the songs and that. But we just clap our hands and swear at the ref. So it's about having fun.
It's a different vibe. It's a bit of a different vibe because the singing. Around the rest of the world, there's opposition fans often, so the singing is to and from between the two sets of fans.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's. I think that's kind of just where the port's finding its feet at the moment. We don't have that fall guy all the time. Obviously, when the Phoenix were in the ground, it was brilliant. So it is a different experience. So I hope Bays 21 and 23 don't get too much stick going forward. Or maybe they'll rise up and stand up, do as they're told.
I think it's just going to get better every game. The team is growing, the crowd is growing as the team gets better. So, it's just a matter of time for that whole section to be standing up the whole game. So there'll be such a good experience for everybody there.
Good stuff. And I've just put your handle. I hope I've got that right. At Media by Matt.
Yes, that's correct. I'll change that to
Martinho Jr.
Oh,
Jr. I'll change that after the show.
I think so.
You better be quick. I'm thinking about doing it, so you better. I might jump in there quickly. I've got the look clearly.
No, I'll do that.
Yeah, definitely can be mistaken for Brazilian.
Oh, always.
100%.
It's you got Scottish at third, Irish at second, and usually Brazilian is usually that one that comes out on the top. Yeah.
And I never saw you do any keepy uppy skills when we used to play either.
Me?
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know
I don't even want to.
A solid player. I mean, a good player when he was on. But...
Yeah, I just think of some of the managers that I had. If I even attempted to try and do some flicks or some kicks or try and keep the ball up for more than 5 times, I just don't want to. I just didn't want to have the wrath of the manager. I dread to think. Some of them brought me to this very day. Yeah, exactly. You know what to do with it. Get rid of it. Yeah.
I once in mid-game as a goalkeeper, I once tried a Cruyff turn on a striker.
And that was it.
It worked.
Oh yeah,
but I still don't know. I don't know how, but I think the striker just couldn't believe what he was seeing, so just fell over and let me have it. So
the Cruyff turn is when you're backing into a corner and then you play it back through your own legs.
Yep, correct.
Goes through the defender who stood behind you's legs, right? Pretty
I
much.
just remember hearing from the
Yeah.
sideline, "What the f are you doing?"
Yeah, the good one is though.
Yeah.
The good one is though, is you walk back into the change rooms and you think you're done, and the manager goes, "Oh, Robbie, actually, just hold on a minute. I just want to talk to you for a moment." And you're like,
Just a word. Yeah.
It's that Cruyff turn, isn't it? You're like,
I know what's
"It's that
coming."
Cruyff turn. I know what's coming. I know what it is. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend doing it as a goalkeeper anyway, but
No.
I claim to fame. I can say I've done it.
It's brave.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good luck, Martino Jr. in your endeavours to get signed by the club. I mean, like, imagine if it's on Radio New Zealand or the Herald tomorrow. You know, Auckland FC signed Martino Jr. We are going to be so excited.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. So
20
I
goals
hope it doesn't
season,
take
strike
all
as
the
well.
800 days. So, yeah.
All right. Good
You
luck.
do look good in
luck.
the kit, by the way, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
you do. Yeah, good
Yeah.
on you, bro. Yeah.
Loving the videos, loving watching it, loving the enthusiasm. So
It's good.
good luck, mate. Good luck. And
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
we might check back in with you in a few weeks to see whether there's any traction on this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be signed by them.
Yeah.
I'll see you in the news
Sure.
by then.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good rating
Give
as
it
well.
another
yeah.
week. Yeah, give it another week.
6.5.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
6 yeah. Yeah.
It's just my TikTok handle. Once I change that, I think they're gonna sign me 100%.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All you needed was us. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Johnny, mate.
Thank you very much.
I'll let
I
you go.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Nah, thanks, man.
Good on you, bro. Good stuff. Lovely. Lovely to see people getting out there and just trying to make things change, trying to make things happen. It's fantastic. So, well, we haven't really discussed the last two games because they seem so long ago now. So we won't really go through them in detail, but, we mentioned at the top there that I think we'd said if we got 4 points out of those gnarly little kind of festive games, we'd be happy. Would you reckon, Robbie, 4 points was a good haul?
Definitely. That was certainly my line of thinking. I said if we had a good win against the Mariners, I'd be more comfortable going to play victory. And that was the win was very much a morale booster. And then going into a victory game, who are a tough side anyway, to get a point at home against Victory, who are arguably league favourites, that's a good point to get. Yeah, definitely.
So we've drawn again. Sorry, we've beat the three favourites are pretty much Sydney, Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, according to the bookies. And we've beaten two of them and drawn with one. So I mean, I think we can be reasonably happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, then the nil all was a bit boring, but I actually watched the some of the replay back, and there were a lot of opportunities. And I think what Macca was saying at the top, if we had a striker of just slightly better, goal scorer, then we might have won. There were a lot of attempts.
Yeah, and it's either it's a weird one for me when I think about it. If you have that one dominant 20-goal striker, what's the rest of the team doing? So is it better to have one prolific striker or have a bunch of goal scorers share the load?
Yeah.
Like if Maya's scoring 10 goals, if Gillian catches fire and manages to score 10 to 12 himself, Rogerson chips in with a couple, Brimmer scores a dozen or so.
Brimmer's, I'd love to see Brimmer score 10 to a dozen. I think he's doing I really enjoy watching him play, and obviously another really good goal against.
Yeah, what a goal!
Goal of the month. Goal of the week, as voted by in the official A-League's social media. So it was a great goal of the week. Frankie de Vries Player of the Month and Corica Coach of the Month as well.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Say no more. Yeah.
Let's hope it continues. Well, so we've got Perth coming up this week. We're going to bring in a Perth Glory fan. Here we go.
Oh,
David. Hello, mate.
Hello.
How you going?
How are we?
I'm all right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you're from the Glory Shed Supporters Club.
Yes, yeah. So, I'm the president of the Glory Shed Supporters Club. We're in our 25th year as a supporters club. So we started in the 2000-2001 National Soccer League season.
Okay.
Go back a long way.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. So 25 years. How does this Perth Glory team rate? mean, we obviously see that you're sitting low down the league, but what's going on over there?
Yeah, I hope you haven't been listening.
What is going on?
I wish
How long we got?
knew what was going. Yeah, I wish I knew what was going on. So everything's been happening the past few years. So obviously, last year the club was put into receivership by the APL. They took the license off the previous owner. Wow. And then it looked like we had an owner, and I'd actually met the two owners. Came to the Sam Kerr Football Centre and attended a training session, and I met the two prospective owners. It then turned out that they weren't the owners. So after I'd met them all, and we'd posted photos on our socials, it turned out these guys didn't have the money they said they had. And then Ross Peligria came in, who owns Serie C side Catania, and he's purchased the club. He's put Stan Lazaridis in as a football director, which I think is a wait and see.
We remember him.
Stan Lazaridis.
Yes.
Stan Lazaridis.
Birmingham City fan.
Yes.
Matt's a Birmingham fan, David. So he's
right.
Man. He's one of my favourite. He's one of my favourite players.
Yeah, we had
of all time.
We had some Birmingham fans attended one of our games towards the end of last season. Because Stan was installed as the football manager, all these Birmingham supporters that live in Perth rocked up to a game, and they met with Stan after the game in the members' lounge.
I'd have loved to have done that. I wish you hadn't told me, because that feels like a bit of a bucket list, that one. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Oh, you'll have to come to Perth now.
I was just, we'll have to. It's quite tempting actually to do that. If I try and maybe send them, if I know that and they play again, I might send a message over and say, if he's still there,
maybe Stan will come over when he comes. Will he travel?
Let's hope Stan goes over.
Oh, even better.
I'll find out.
That's your second game, Matt.
There you go.
Yeah, you'll win that one. Perth will win
you'll win that one. Yeah.
He's been travelling to most of the away games. So
okay.
He was in Adelaide. Adelaide. He was in Sydney last night. He's been in Melbourne for away games, so he might do the road double.
Perth travel to Auckland in April, end of April.
Yes.
It's the second to last round of the season, Matt.
Birthday time as well.
There you go.
My birthday's around there.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together. It's meant to be. Love it. Love fate.
So you're not in great form at the moment, though, the team, David?
No, we're not. No, it's not good. No, we 3-0 lost last night to Sydney FC, and we took our star striker, Adam Taggart, came off early in the second half when it was 0-0 still, and he was probably our only threat going forward. And then at the end of the match, David Zrilic says that they took him off because they had to rest him for the two games coming up. And it's like, mate, we're 0-0. We're chasing wins. We're chasing wins, and you take off the only recognised striker that we have. So that was a bit of a frustrating one, but we'll see.
Bit of a head scratcher, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like while we're all in this sort of honeymoon relationship here with Auckland FC, you're jaded, eh? You're like on your third divorce.
It looks like we're looking into the future. This is like 25 years in the future. Like we'll be like, just gone. Yeah,
we're like skipping around with our new love, and
Yeah. Enjoy it while it lasts. Because you've only got to look at Brisbane at the minute. Brisbane had it good for so many, years in the early years of the A-League. Brisbane had it really good, and now I'm seeing all these Brisbane supporters complain on social media, and as a Glory fan, I'm sitting there going, please, we've only won one championship. If we'd have won, the premierships and the championships that they'd have won, I'd be all right. So, they don't have too much to complain about, Brisbane.
Do you regret the name Glory being attached to the team?
No. The NSL, it worked.
The glory is not all about winning, is it? It's about the flourish of the game, right? It's about the glory. Like at Spurs, see, my team, Tottenham Hotspur, we talk about the glory, and it's not always about the winning. It's about showing up and entertaining and bossing it and having beautiful players. But I mean, do Perth have any players like that?
In the NSL, we did, and in the Castro in the A League was probably like Diego Castro was probably the one that flourished for us, and he was really good.
Yeah.
I feel like Perth should be really, because of the catchment area, being all the way over in WA. I feel like, because there's a few teams, at Sydney and Melbourne, there is a bit of competition with the if there's a superstar coming through the local leagues, there's going to be a little bit of competition.
There's a few clubs going in for them.
Yeah, there's a few clubs going for him, or on the East Coast. But with Perth, there's just such a massive. I mean, I know they populate, but such a big area that you can, pluck from.
A lot of pommies over in Perth, eh? A lot of those bastards over there. I lived over there myself for a year and a half, and I actually played a full season for the over 35s at Sorrento.
Oh, right,
the
Sorrento.
light blue kit, yeah.
There you go.
Sorrento. There you go.
Get that in there.
Nice.
And I did what I always do. I was good in pre-season, scored a couple of goals, and they earmarked me, and then I lost it after about 6 games. I was knackered. The knee was knackered. My ankle was knackered. My head was knackered. I was like, nah.
What's it? Something to deceive. What's that? I was trying to think what the saying is.
Flattered
to deceive. Yeah.
But you mentioned that catchment area, because I'm just having to think about it now. Like, even the state of the NPL in WA it's a decent standard. It's very East Coast centric. Obviously, when we talk NPL, like obviously the Victorian and New South Wales get a lot of, the attention. But having called a couple of Perth club teams in the Australia Cup, and I called a few Glory games as well, there's enough talent there. So why is that not translating into this professional setup? Because I've got a follow-up question to that, but I'd be keen to get your take on this, David. Like, why? Yeah. Why are the Glory in the position that they're in right now?
Where do I start? I think a lot of it has to do with, there's a lot of our youth players that come through the NPL setup, they don't get much of a chance in the first team. We we seem to get a lot of imports and, overseas WA players that come back to the club. It was only 2 weeks ago that we gave a start to Jalen Pearman, who's come through our NPL setup, and he's been on our books for a while.
Few seasons,
Luke Bodnar is a player that we recently let go to pursue an opportunity overseas. He came through our academy setup. He starred for us in our Asian Champions League hub that we played during COVID. He was one of the standouts in that tournament. Didn't get much of a go under previous managers. So there's examples like that where there's just players that have come through the NPL system that aren't really getting much of a go. And I think there's only about 2 or 3 at the minute that have come through that are actually looking really good. And it's good to see them getting a go. So hopefully it continues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say we. Oh, yeah.
No, sorry, you go, Matt. You go.
Mine was a quick one. I know our football team was looking at Robert Cook, the goalkeeper. I think he's under 17, under 18. I think Leeds United were looking.
He's just signed for Leeds.
So I think Birmingham were looking to try and get him. There's a huge amount of talent.
He spent most of last year playing NPL in the first team as our main keeper. And he kept Cameron Cook on the bench for most of the NPL season. So Cameron Cook, who's an A-League experienced keeper, he was on the bench for most of the season in the NPL because Robbie Cook was just a really good keeper.
Yeah, I've heard some fantastic things. Yeah.
Are you likely to get any Italians in from the Serie C team?
Apparently not. Apparently the monetary constraints is what has stopped Catania from being able to loan players, because apparently the club, I did hear that Catania did want to loan some players out, but apparently because of the salary cap in the A-League, if we'd loan players in from Catania with our salary at the minute, apparently it would have put us over or put us close to the edge. So they were unable to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting. So my follow-up question to before was, in this particular time of the league, there's a lot of focus on the youth talent. We see a lot of teams promoting their own. I think back to Western United, I think there's a handful of 17, 18-year-olds who are playing regularly, and there's examples of that across other teams. start of the season through the Australia Cup, calling them, and I called a game with Daniel McBreen, the City game, the 5-4.
Yeah.
Their progression through that, the first couple of weeks, I could see what Driller was trying to do. But then I remember hearing back a couple of weeks ago when Perth started so badly that the timing of the imports coming in, he was saying they didn't have enough time to, come up to speed, and hence basically doing a preseason at the start of the league season. So I wondered,
Yes.
I've always wondered if it was worth persisting with that Australia Cup side, give them, because they'd trained longer together.
Yeah.
And then slowly drip feed the imports coming in. Maybe that would have been, in hindsight, a better thing to do.
Yeah, it probably would have. Yeah, the guys that played in the Australia Cup were really, really good for us. Abdul Faisal was one that really stood out.
Killed
in
it.
the pre-season. Yeah, absolutely killed it. Kwa and Go as well, I thought was really good. So, the young guys that they played in the Australia Cup really acquitted themselves really well. And as you said, they spent that entire pre-season together. And, I think it did disjoint the team, because when Lewis Kanga and Christian Casado came in, I think that was like 10 days before the start of the season.
And they were thrown straight in.
Yeah. And they got thrown straight in the deep end. And I'm like, here you go, guys. Your experience, just, pick it up as you go.
Yeah. They're the experienced imports, so they have to be playing from the start. But I just wondered, you look back on it now, and it does kind of make sense that all that chopping and changing, it's really set you back. I like.
It's never good.
Finals is a dream for the Glory this season, and it's already at that point, right? I feel, I don't know how Perth Glory fans feel, but you've basically written the season off because of a mistake that happened round one in terms of team selection. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's expecting finals this year. Yeah.
What about this weekend's game, David? What's the from a Perth Glory position? You'd have seen Auckland come out the blocks.
Yeah.
How do you think you guys are going to get on?
I think we'll go all right. Look, we played really well against Western United. Apart from the 2 late goals, that's the best game that the Glory have played at home all year. They actually looked like they were playing for the shirt. It looked like the guys actually wanted to be out there. So it will be interesting. Obviously we played last night in Sydney, so we've had the flight over there and the flight back. And I see most of the players that were named in last night's game have been named for Saturday's game. So there'll be guys that are backing up. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, I think we will acquit ourselves well. I'll be interested to see how Auckland handle the travel, because it's the first big trip for them. Yeah. And I don't know if they're here yet, but I know that when the Wellington Phoenix come over to Perth, they normally, I think they fly out on the Monday before a game. So they spend the week here.
Well,
and they
acclimatise. I reckon that makes sense.
So it'll be interesting to see, if Auckland had done the same, if they've flown out on the Tuesday or the Wednesday to, come over a few days early, acclimatise to the heat.
Everything about Perth is different from Auckland. It's just a dry heat.
Yes.
The light. I remember because when I flew there, the light is intense.
Yeah.
It's just, will you switch this light off? And it's hot and it's dry and it's relentless. Yeah, it's going to be. I've looked at the forecast. I think it's only about 29, 30.
Yes.
Only.
Only 29.
Yeah.
And getting down to 17 overnight. So
You guys will have jumpers.
So we'll see.
Yikes.
There's no jumpers in 29.
That is just playing football in 30 degrees. That's insane. It's like the Azteca.
It is.
Yeah.
This league is played out under intense heat. To have a summer football league across Australia and New Zealand is hard.
Yeah. Fair play.
All right, predictions for the game. David, do you want to go first? Prediction for the game. Give us a score.
I reckon it'll be 2-2.
2-2. Matt.
Yeah, I was thinking. I want to be positive to Auckland. I had a bit of a feeling that they might get pipped. They might get pipped 1-0, but They've usually got a goal in them, so I'm gonna say 1-1.
1-1 draw.
Standard.
Standard, yeah. 1-1. 1-1.
Robbie.
That's serious.
Oh, see, no, I'm in an awkward position as I'm commentating the game for TV. So, in the interest of being unbiased, I can't really state what I'm thinking. But it should be an interesting game. I'm okay. No, I won't give a prediction there. But
for the viewers that are on Spotify, maybe we can't. People that are listening.
No, I'll be interested to see how Adam Taggart pulls up. If there is some kind of injury on a short turnaround, a quad's a tricky one to back up from within 3 days, including a day's worth of travel. I don't know how that's going to pull up. Defensively, Auckland are pretty sound, but then also whether Corica decides to rotate a couple of players, who knows? It'll be Perth. I think there's signs there. They are starting to fight for longer. But Auckland, given where they are and the strength of their team, quality-wise, you'd expect they'd be too good for Perth. But this league, honestly, banana skin games are every week. You just can't. It's a tipping nightmare. So I'll just leave it at that.
It says every week.
Football's the winner on the day.
That's a very long answer for I can't really say.
Yeah, no comment.
It's right. He's maybe gesturing.
I think, given what happened at Central Coast, I think they'll go and win again. I think they're on a bit of a roll. I see they're doing the difference in class seems obvious at the moment, and how the teams have gone the first 10, 11 games. So 2-1. I'm going to go for 2-1, and the boy Liam Gillian is going to finally score. It's going to be he's going to score. He's going to score. We want him to score. He's going to score.
Yeah, he's got to get one, isn't he? Soon.
Yeah, and So enjoy the game, everybody. We're it's on a strange time zone for New Zealand. Of course, about midnight. If you're listening to it on Sky, our own Robbie here is doing the commentary for Network 10. And that gets segued through to us in New Zealand. And so that's well done, Robbie, on getting the game, by the way. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. I don't know how. I think it was just
going up.
I was just rostering. I'll take it.
Yeah. Can you go in at night time and change the roster a little bit if you fancy it? Robbie's name's on there.
I'll see what I can do.
Good stuff. David, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Lovely to hear from you over there.
Yeah, no worries.
Lovely place.
Thanks, David.
In the world. Yeah, lovely
no
place
worries.
in the world. And,
have you got many coming over for the game or not? Or you don't know?
There's a lot of Kiwis living in Perth, as you know. So I won't be surprised. Actually, there's a reasonable amount in there.
Yeah, nice.
Kiwis, K1W1s.
Well, if I'd have known Stan Lazaridis was going to to be there, I probably would have been at least one. That
would have cancelled the family holiday. And
I'm like, well,
we're going to Perth.
Remember we said I can't. Yeah, it's like like a hall pass. It's like remember we said if Stan Lazaridis appears, we can drop everything. I'm dropping everything. I'm coming.
Stan's the hall pass, is he?
Stan's the hall. Yeah.
Let's see your hat
this
week,
in the flesh.
Let's have a look at your hat. Let's have a look at your hat.
Oh yeah, there you go.
For the visual audio, the audio viewers, Matt's got a nice Drop Report hat.
Yeah.
Christmas
merch.
His wife. Lovely.
I've got some orders in, so don't worry about it.
Don't forget my birthday.
Something might be coming down the line. Don't worry. Yeah.
Lovely. Look forward to it. All right, great show. It was great to hear from Macca at the top, and our boy going to try and get signed from Auckland FC as well. So good luck to Martino Jr. and David. Thanks again, and Robbie and Matthew. Thank you very much for joining us. Been a lovely show, and we'll all look forward to the game at the weekend. Up the port, I think, is what we say.
Yeah, up the port.
All right,
I can't say it, but I'm thinking it.
Very good. You got to be neutral. And anyone who's tuned in, listen, please do give us a like, give us a download, give us a follow, tell your mates, and always interested to hear from more perspectives on the podcast. So we will join you next time. Thank you very much. That was Nice Drop Report.